I'm pleased to be here with all of you as ranking member. Despite our political differences, and they aren't as great as the public believes between Republicans and Democrats, and particularly between Grassley and White House, I know that we can find common areas of agreement to work on together. One area of agreement must be that our budget and appropriation process is broken. This sentiment isn't new at all, nor is it particularly partisan. No person could look at last year's process and say that things are working. For fiscal year 2023, Congress didn't adopt a budget. The Senate Appropriations Committee didn't mark up a single bill, and not one of the 12 individual appropriation bills was debated on the Senate floor. Instead, we were presented with a $1.7 trillion omnibus just a few days before Congress. Things need to change. Now, maybe we shouldn't be surprised, because when the Senate goes into session at 3 o'clock on Monday and has one vote, hardly any business, and then you work all day Tuesday and all day Wednesday and adjourn at 1:45 on Thursday, you can't get a lot of session work done when you just are in session 2.5 weeks, compared to when I came to the United States Senate, started no later than noon on Monday, debated on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, went home Friday at 4. So I think there needs to be some reanalysis of the work that we're putting, not the work, because there's plenty of work for senators, but the amount of time that we're in session. I want to applaud two leaders in this process, Senator Murray and Collins, for publicly announcing their commitment to regular order, including debating appropriation bills on the Senate floor. We need to do our part to make that happen. We should also agree that our nation's fiscal outlook is dire. The Congressional Budget Office will release an updated budget projection this afternoon. Every indication is that their new projections will be as bad as or worse than last summer's projection. This is what they told us last summer. Within 10 years, public debt as a share of our economy will exceed World War II record highs. However, unlike after World War II, when spending and debt subsided, our public debt is projected to climb even higher. Our public debt will reach 110% of our economy in 2032 and grow to 185% 2052. Trillion-dollar annual deficits will be replaced by $2 trillion deficits within a few years. Simply serving the debt will lead to record-breaking annual costs of more than $1 trillion within 10 years. So, Mr. Chairman, your immediate predecessor refused to bring in CBO to discuss the overall budget outlook. This was a mistake. So I urge, under your leadership, to hold a hearing with CBO on the latest outlook. Nobody benefits from just burying our heads in the sand. I acknowledge that a changing climate is a historic and scientific fact. I also recognize that most scientists agree man-made emissions contribute to climate change. Throughout my career, I've advocated for renewable and alternative energy solutions. Being the father of the wind energy tax credit in 1992, I think maybe I was doing that 10 years before climate change was much of an issue. And so today in Iowa, we get 60% of our electricity from wind, and in 4 years, American Energy, Des Moines, Iowa, will be getting 80%, 85%, maybe more accurately, of their energy from wind. This being said, even if the entire U.S. stopped emitting greenhouse gas tomorrow, projected temperatures would only be 0.3 degrees Fahrenheit lower come 2100. Even in this unrealistic scenario, the U.S. would still need major polluters like China and India to pull their weight. As we look to address climate and energy issues, the nation must also address our fiscal health. There's plenty of blame to go around for how we got into our current situation. Republican or Democrats have to share this blame. For decades, Congress turned a blind eye as our nation walked toward a fiscal cliff. But Democrats turned that walk into a sprint. In March 2021, Democrats took advantage of an emergency situation to pass a $2 trillion partisan spending bill, even as our economy showed strong signs of recovery. Then as inflation soared to 40-year high, they doubled down, spending trillions more on their liberal wish list. They pushed through omnibus appropriation bills with take it or leave it mantras for 2 years, each time growing the size of the government when not using fast-track procedures or government shutdown as leverage. The administration drove deficits through unilateral action like student loan giveaways that could cost taxpayers $1 trillion. Congress needs then, it's very obvious, a fiscal reality check. And I know our chairman's trying to bring that fiscal reality check by bringing up all of the issues that climate change is going to add to the budget, and that's the correct thing to do. But this reality check has to start with this committee getting back to performing core functions. This includes holding hearings on federal fiscal matters, examining programs and authorizations that have been on autopilot for decades, and performing robust oversight of agency spending. No government entity should be exempt. Now, finally, I welcome the opportunity to work with you, Senator Whitehouse, on budget process reform. You are a well-established leader on this issue. I appreciate your stated interest in working with the rest of us on this issue starting, and I'll be ready to join you anytime, from where we left off with Senator Enzi in 2019. It was a bipartisan process then, and I think we can build to get it over the finish line this Congress. Needless to say, we have our work cut out for us to get our fiscal house in order. To paraphrase former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker, cutting spending may be painful, but the pain for all of us will be much greater if it isn't accomplished. So I look forward to our work over the next 2 years.